This is T. So I wanted to go ahead and get this video out before it starts raining and gets too dark. But I wanted to talk to y'all today about desire. And I want to kind of give a etymological breakdown of it. This is something that I've always been interested in. Etymology is just the study of words and the study of the origin of words. I've always been interested in that. So I'm gonna try and put that in my videos a little bit because I just love studying like words and language and how it really affects us as spiritual thinking people. Okay, so I don't really have a plan for this video, so just go along with me. So for the last few days, I've been thinking about the word desire, and I know that there's a lot of emotional and like just spiritual hangups when it comes to desires, and have been for millennia, for probably all of existence, because we all have something that we want. And as I'm in a space of my life of trying to manifest my desires, trying to follow the journey or pick the path that gets me to my desires, it's just something that I wanted to look up and kind of break down for my mental mind to kind of grasp onto, because it's been mostly, me and my feelings and my emotions, and just my feelings and my emotions in trying to reach these desires. But I feel like there's a practical way of looking at desires, and I feel like what kind of came to me will help. Not only me, it might help you too. So I basically just started with the word desire and trying to break it down into two parts, which is D and Zire. So we know that D is kind of like a prefix that means to kind of like be away from. That's what it really means. The prefix D is of, from, or down from. And I'm reading stuff. I typed it on my computer, so I'm reading over here. And sire, of course, the only way that I've really known sire is to be like a proper way of referring to, like a proper man or whatever. But sire can also be a verb, which means to bring into existence or originate, which kind of ties into the whole masculine connotation behind it. Because not to say that men are responsible for, creation, but there is a masculine connotation behind bringing something into existence. That action has a masculine feel to it. But anyway, when you put desire, D and sire together, what the definition of desire is: a strong want or wish or craving or yearning. But I decided to kind of like come up with a etymological definition of desire and say that it is a point of origination that you have yet to encounter. Okay, so I believe that this helps to take the intensity and the subjectiveness away from desires, and to help us focus on what it really is in the absence of emotions. The results and outcomes that we are wanting are simply points in time, beginnings of cycles that are available to us. Desires were not designed to be immediately attainable. Whatever your desire is, you have to put in a degree of effort to reach it, whether that's physical effort, emotional effort, spiritual effort. There has to be some effort put towards reaching what it is that you want. If you obtain something immediately that resembles your desire, it is either deceptive, a stepping stone towards your desire, or you were already aligned and just didn't know it. So if you want something and you get what seems to be your desire immediately, I feel that is either something that's not really what you wanted, it just looks like it and it feels like it, or it could be a stepping stone to kind of help you get some practice for when the real thing comes, when the desire that you want, when it manifests like 100%, that you'll be able to recognize that first of all, and you'll have the practice and the knowledge and the experience to keep it. Okay, and sometimes when you get something that you have been wanting, you may have already grown into the person that you need to be to get that and keep that, but you just didn't know. Okay. So the saying anything that comes quick doesn't last comes to mind when I think about your desires not being something that's immediately attainable, because there's kind of a sense of it can leave just as quick as it comes, just as quick as it came, it leaves, because anything with such a quickness doesn't have any substance to it. You know, something move fast, I mean, it's light. It don't have a lot of weight and substance to it. But something that kind of moves just a little bit slower, might not be completely slow, but something that moves a little bit slower may have some more weight to it, which causes it to move a little bit slower. Okay, so I do believe that in some instances you can desire, or your desire can manifest, but you inevitably lose it because you didn't have the right character to keep it. So once again, you may get something that you wanted immediately, but sometimes that can serve as a lesson, that can serve as an indication that you are not quite the person that you need to be to have that desire in your life and keep it in your life. Okay, there's many different ways that we all learn. Sometimes some people go without their desires for such a long time just so that they can grow and become the person that they need to manifest their desires. Some people get it and lose it so that they can see that there was something that they needed to learn. There was something that they were not quite ready for. Okay, it's not a sign that it'll never happen again. It just means that you have some growing to do. So once again, just because you got it one time and lost it doesn't mean that you can't get it back. If you lost it and it's still a desire, that means that there's something that you need to do. There's some growing you need to do. There's some effort you need to put in before you can get it back. So the next time that it comes around, you'll actually be able to grasp it and hold on to it. Okay, so the other word that I wanted to talk about, because I felt like just looking up the word desire and studying that word and kind of gaining some insight into that wasn't enough, especially for where I am in my life. You know, I don't want to just know that my desires are attainable. I want to know that I can become one with my desires, because just because you obtain something doesn't mean that you keep it. Doesn't mean that it's something that would just automatically stick around. So I wanted to look up the word integrate as well, as kind of an opposite to desire. You know, desire being something that you want, but you're not quite able to experience it yet for whatever reason. So when that desire comes in, what does it turn into? It's no longer a desire. So the word that came to mind was integrate, because if your desire is a want or a yearning that is seemingly so far away, what is it turning to when it's not far away, when it's right in front of you, and you are able to claim that thing, claim that desire as something that you have. So I thought of the word integrate. And so that breaks down, etymologically, that breaks down to in and tangier. I think I'm saying that right. In being, it's not really a prefix, it's a word forming element, which that's just part of a word. And tangier is the root word, which is basically just the root of that word. So in is pretty simple, into, on, upon. Tangier, which as the root word, means to touch. And so integrate, the definition, regular definition of integrate, means to put together parts or elements and combine them into a whole. So putting those two parts of the word together, I came up with to come in contact with. Okay, so in order for some parts to come together as a whole, they have to mesh to some degree. Okay, so you and your desire have to be similar substances or vibrations for you to come into contact with them. Okay, the materials or energetic vibration that they are made of have to be on the same level. They don't have to literally be the same, but they have to be able to be mixed up together. When you bake a cake, all the ingredients are different, but they have the capacity to be meshed and mashed together to make something else entirely. Life is a series of endings and beginnings, cycles. So once again, your desire is just a cycle, an experience that you have yet to encounter. Okay, it is simply that some cycles are more pleasing than others, and that would be your desires. The cycles that we long for, we know they have the potential to be long-lasting cycles, but do we have the long-lasting character to match it? This is why growth is unavoidable. Okay, so this all comes back to growth. I talked about it in my last video briefly, but growth really is unavoidable. That is part of the big thing that we are all here to do. Growth produces the experience, knowledge, and wisdom needed to sustain what we will later encounter. And some of what you will later encounter will be your desires. You may wish for $1 million, but if you don't know how to make your money stretch and grow, you'll soon be out of $1 million. And surely you don't want $1 million for just a few days. You want $1 million for, a long time. You want to make it last. Growth also produces the endurance needed for other cycles and elements of life that we don't look forward to, but will undoubtedly come. Okay, just because we've grown and we've put in effort and we've reached our desires, we've come into contact with those cycles of life that we want to experience, doesn't mean that other cycles of life won't come along with it, or elements of life. So once again, you want $1 million. You want to buy a nice car or two with that $1 million. With those cars come maintenance costs, gas costs, and other related costs. So that's more out of your $1 million. It would be helpful if there was a way to maintain that $1 million. That way you can have your $1 million and still make more to keep covering the necessary costs, or at least make it last longer. And this is just an example that I'm using to show you, or to portray the fact that once you get to your desires, that's not the end of the story, which is why growth is needed. If you didn't need growth, if growth wasn't needed, you would be able to reach your desires just like that, and there would be nothing else to be said. But like they say, with new levels come new devils. I like to see it as, once you reach your desires, there are going to be other things that come along with that you're going to need to know how to navigate. And that's why, once again, growth is unavoidable, because you want to be able to endure whatever comes along with that desire. Another example that just came to my head is kind of funny, but just like a kid who wishes to drive a race car one day but can't reach the foot pedals at their current age. You little 5-year-old son, he want to be a race car driver one day, but he don't even know how to drive yet. So they'll one day grow big enough so that they can learn basic driving skills, but it doesn't stop there. They have to get into the world of racing and learn even more complicated and advanced driving skills. So that's just another simple example of, you have a desire. There's a phase of life, a cycle of life that you want to experience, but you may not have, or be the person, you may not have the experience and resources needed to get there yet, or you may not be the person you need to be to get there yet. And so you have to take that time to grow and put in effort to get to that person, to obtain those resources so that you can get to where you want to be. So, big picture, what am I saying here? What I'm saying is that your desires are yours to have, 100%. Your desires are not some unattainable or even almost impossible thing that you have to pine for and fantasize about as if you can't reach them. Your desires are 100% reachable. Now, I will like to add a disclaimer and say that as long as your desires are aligned with the highest vibration of love and good for all, because we know there are some desires that some people have that are rooted in destruction. I'm gonna just say that. Your desires are simply certain cycles or phases that you just have not been aligned with yet. The way to align with your desires are to grow, put in effort, grow through what you have to go through. Grow into the person who can not only see that certain cycle begin to turn in their life, but the person who can keep it. You don't want to just get it and lose it. You want to get it and be able to keep it. That takes growth. Once you are able to grow and align, you can then integrate and become one with the very thing your heart has always wanted to experience. Okay, so I hope this gave y'all some insight, some practical insight into your desires and what they are in a practical way, so that you can find a way to not be so emotionally attached to your desires and kind of fall into the cycle of thinking, that it might be almost impossible for you to get there. So I hope this helped y'all out a little bit, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Be well.